Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, Matt Walsh here is really going after Mehdi Hassan, and I feel kind of bad seeing a fellow Muslim take so many attacks from the bigoted MAGA cult. And Matt Walsh writes here, Christianity built this country. Islam did not at all in even the slightest way. That's why we can have our church bells, you ungrateful little bee. Okay, that's just false right off the get-go. Because America has invaded the Middle East, Muslim countries, for oil. Without oil, America couldn't have its hegemonic power position. Because whoever has consistent energy supplies has a vibrant economy. And without a vibrant economy, you can't have money. So, America pillaging and waging war for oil and resources in Africa, where there's Muslim countries, and in the Middle East, which are Muslim countries, that obviously means Islam has helped make America strong. Okay? Further, there's not that many Muslims anymore in China. The Uyghurs, may Allah help them and bless them. But one could argue that since America is propped up by cheap Chinese goods, that it is the atheist communists of China and the Muslims in China and the Buddhists in China who have helped America become stronger. And so it's important to recognize that fact and not let Matt Walsh erase history. The atheists have contributed heavily to America, and Christians did wipe out tribes in the name of their religion. Okay? So Christianity came, conquered, massacred the tribes, did the Trail of Tears, and, invited colonists from Europe and said, hey, this land is up for grabs, let's take it. But the Mormons fighting with different Christians and the sectarian vices that the Christians had was definitely tense. And when the Irish Catholics and Italian Catholics came over, they often didn't get along too well with the Protestants. And for a while, the Protestant / Lutheran / Calvinist Christians hated Catholics because they were more loyal to the Pope and they were highly suspicious of them. So Matt Walsh doesn't mention which sect of Christianity built the country, and the fact of the matter is America is unique because of how many different people contribute to the country and who maintain it. Today, there's tons of Muslims who own businesses, and not every Muslim is counted in some census. I'm Muslim and I don't remember any paperwork from the government asking me what my religion was. Okay? So how they collect data and find out who's what religion is a thing. And remember, some people call themselves Christians and they only celebrate a Christian festival on Easter with, eggs and the Easter bunny, which is very more pagan. Or they go and have Santa Claus and the Christmas tree and, give gifts and they call themselves Christians. So what a devout Christian does versus what the casual Christian observer is a conversation to be had. Okay? And the Adhan is not even that long. Okay? You can sit at a stoplight and hear someone blast violent music or heavy rock and roll or death metal or some cringe-worthy country song, and that's almost as long as the Adhan. And the fact that Matt Walsh is so offended that there's a call reminding people to pray shows that, he's not fighting degeneracy as much as he thinks he is. It's truly disturbing seeing the right-wing Christians focusing on Islam and not healthcare, infrastructure, taxes, clean water, pollution. They're still acting like it's thousands of years ago, where it's like we have to worry about this other religion and, we gotta just focus all our resources on that. So I think it's wonderful if you have the adhan and the church bells. I like my local church bells because when there's the rain and it's gray and it's gloomy and you just hear that the bells going for a wedding or just to tell you the time, I find it to be relaxing. We got a lot of crows in the community, so it feels very goth. Got a black crows everywhere, and then it's raining, and then the bells go off. It's nice. And I think that in a country where a person can blast music from their apartment or their house, and it can have a curse word every 2 seconds, I don't think you have a right to complain about the Islamic call to prayer. You know, it's absurd. And if you live by high schools that host games, like football games or baseball games, they often blast rap music. If you go to like a high school sports game, you can hear their crowds roaring, and they have loudspeakers, and then when it's the halftime, they blast music of rap usually and hip hop. So if it's okay for schools to blast degenerate music during sporting events, even till as late as 8 p.m., because some of the sports games, they go on to in the afternoon, and in daylight savings time, the sun's gone down, so you're trying to sleep, but a school is blasting their music during a sporting event, that's okay, but it's not okay that a 2-minute adhan call to prayer is out there. It just doesn't make any sense. And a Christian preacher can stand with a bullhorn and rant and rave if he so chooses. So, Matt's not being very honest here, and Americans have to come to this realization that we have what we have because we're the hegemonic dog in town for now. And we've made other countries the satellites and the orbits of us who feed us resources willingly or unwillingly. And China has contributed to us heavily. Food from Mexico and from basically Latin America, especially the tropical fruits. And further, when you examine the oil and minerals taken from Muslim countries, both in Africa and in the Middle East, you begin to realize, we really have extracted much from the world. And since those countries are Islamic and we have trade deals with countries like Saudi Arabia and others, we must take a step back and say, we're not doing it all on our own. Christians are not all pulling the weight. Now, he says Christians built this country. Okay. So does that also mean illegal Latino Catholic migrants have built the country? Here we go. America has depended upon Latino labor for a while. Illegal Catholic Latino labor for a while. So why is America deporting those Christians who helped build the country? But Matt Walsh no doubt would say, no, illegals didn't help build this country. No. Only legal whites. Interesting. I'd be very curious to see if someone puts a question to Matt like, so all Christians or just white Christians built the country? And that's when you're going to get into the nitty gritty with Mr. Matt Walsh. And Mehdi Hassan saying that we can have our Islamic call of prayer doesn't make him ungrateful. What? Very absurd. And notice how Mehdi Hassan is saying that he's American as anyone else. But Matt Walsh is getting racial. and saying, well, just because you're a legal immigrant doesn't mean you contributed anything. There's a lot of racial undertones here. White Christian nationalism, aka white supremacy, has really taken a hold, and because of the Trump movement, essentially. The liberals were actually right about what Trump represents and how he'll bring out the ugly side of a lot of Americans, because he brings up a lot of racial stuff. So, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. And Islam has contributed to American success, definitely, through having, okay, you want to go deeper? American companies got rich by selling and manufacturing weapons to use in the Middle East. So if there was no wars in the Middle East, there would have been less money in the American economy, because war is a money-making machine and a racket. And the resources that were gained through war were used for the benefit of America. So, since resources were taken from Muslims and fed into the American empire, that does mean that Islam contributed to America's success. Unwillingly. Right? And, again, there's a lot of Muslims in America now. Not as much as I'd like, but they are contributing. And that does mean even if we're slightly contributing, we're still contributing. So this country is always going to be being built, redesigned, reestablished, shifting, changing, alternating. It's a revolving, unfolding manifestation. No country is ever completely built. There's things that are torn down, shifted, all that. Today, Muslims are contributing. And there's nothing Matt Walsh can do to take that away from us. Nothing at all. And one could argue that lots of Christians are destroying the country because of how much that they've tolerated and how much that they've let go of the reins of power, and how much atheists, the secular liberal atheists, have dominated them, and how much the occultists have dominated the Christians as well. So you could take that conversation in a whole bunch of ways, I'd argue. Let me know what you think. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the believers and destroy those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger. Ameen.